Welcome to the Pandemic Pinup Happy Hour. It is yet again Sunday, but today is very special. It is Father's Day. So to any fathers out there, happy Father's Day. Hopefully most people are celebrating and not here with me making cocktails because I'm not your dad. But I did want to put together some cocktails to kind of just honor the men that have been there for their families in the best of ways. Supportive dads, hardworking dads, single dads, all of those guys, these cocktails are for you. So the inspiration for these cocktails was to take a lot of the drinks that I tend to see in kids' lunches or at kid-focused events. And then I thought to myself, sometimes you just don't want to go through all the effort to make a ton of elaborate cocktails. And sometimes you don't always have a lot of things on hand. So I picked out 3 children's beverages and we're turning them into cocktails, or adding them into cocktails. So we have Capri Sun, we have Kool-Aid Jammers, and we have the ever popular Yoo-Hoo. So our 3 cocktails we'll be making today. We're going to go ahead and start with what I'm calling the Kool Dad, starting with a K as in Kool-Aid. I'm really excited about this cocktail. It's really, really tasty, to where I might have to just start buying Kool-Aid Jammers, even though I do not have any children. So for this cocktail, you do need a cocktail shaker. It's going to be a very simple build. We're going to start off with some tequila. I definitely recommend a silver tequila, not an aged tequila for this particular cocktail. We're going to use an ounce and a half. Pour that right in there. And then we're going to use something called peach pucker. So it's kind of a peach liqueur or a peach schnapps, if you can find that. But pucker just tends to be a little bit on the tart side. It reminds me of a sweet tart if they were peach flavored. So we're going to use a 3/4 ounce of this. I was also trying to get things that weren't wildly expensive or use bottles that maybe somebody bought one time and they used for one specific drink at a party. And then they just have a lot left on their back shelf or in their pantry, under their cupboard, wherever they keep their liquor bottles. So if you've ever bought peach something and don't know how to use it, just use it in this cocktail. Then we're going to do an ounce and a half of pineapple juice. And I know I harp all the time on fresh juice. However, pineapple juice is really, really finicky. So if you have fresh pineapple juice, it's really hard to know if it will be perfectly sweet or perfectly tart, whatever your balance needs to be. So anytime you see me use pineapple juice in a cocktail, unless otherwise specified, it is always the canned variety, and it's 99% of the time don't break, just because it's a very consistent product. So I'm going to use an ounce and a half of that. And then just to balance it all out, there's going to be a 1/4 ounce of lime juice. This is fresh. Bring that right in there. And then we're going to add some ice and shake it up. So my whole idea, my hope or my goal is that if any dads are making these cocktails or somebody's making them for their dad, you put the kids to bed, they're no longer in your hair, you've had a long day, and you get to sit down with something that's going to look really kind of tropical and vacation style, so you feel like you're really taking some time. All right, so you don't have to shake it all too much, maybe about 5 to 10 seconds. And then I'm picked this tall Pilsner style glass. I'm going to dirty dump this cocktail, which is using all of the contents of your shaker, just right in there. Keep it a little easier. I'm gonna put just a little extra ice on top. Then we're gonna get this Kool-Aid Jammer and open it, if I can. They say these are child-proof, but I think sometimes they're like adult-proof too. I don't know if anybody else has this problem. I swear this only happens when I'm on screen. It's open, it just doesn't want to. All right. There we go. I get the job done. I feel like that's a good dad move, right? Just figure it out. And then we're going to pour that on top. Look at that. And then to make it look really nice and fancy, I have these really cute pineapple fronds that I'm going to put as a garnish. You can obviously absolutely forego this. But that, guys, is the Kool Dad with a K. Oh, that's good. It tastes like a pool party in the best cheap way possible, if that makes any sense to anyone out there in the internet. So moving on, our next cocktail It's called Go Ask Your Mother. Last year I did a bunch of Father's Day cocktails and I wore like big dad gear. I had on a fish button down, I had a fanny pack, I had a phone holster, I had the whole nine. And those cocktails were things like new white bags. However, because this is post bedtime cocktail story, I'm in the PJs, and hopefully these have enough alcohol in them to soothe anything that happened and to kind of knock you out like a night. So for the Go Ask Your Mother, the idea was to make something that tasted like a nightcap, and usually, at least in my experience and my preference, nightcap beverages tend to be a little more alcohol forward. Sometimes they can be a little darker in flavor, and if you don't know what that really refers to, that means that they're richer, so less tart, less fruity, less sweet. You usually see things like a Manhattan or maybe an Amaro or whiskey on ice, so they're usually boozy and dark. So I wanted to kind of go in that direction, but it's kind of hard when you're using a yoo-hoo. So what I ended up coming up with was kind of a riff on a white Russian. So we're going to use 1 full ounce of an aged rum. This is probably one of my standards that I always have at home. It's a 4-year-old rum called Flortecaña. You could use any rum you want. I though would tell you maybe steer clear of the spice rums. You could definitely try it with it. I did test this out with Kraken, but I wasn't a huge fan of that flavor combination. Because guys, yoo-hoo is not chocolate milk, it's chocolate drink. So you have to remember that it's not going to be incredibly chocolate forward. So 1 ounce of rum. We have a 1/2 ounce of coffee liqueur. And I chose grind. First of all, I love it. Second, it's also rum based. It's an espresso infused rum rather than just a liqueur. So keeping it as much as possible in the rum family. And then we're going to use a 1/4 ounce of an amaretto or a nut-based liqueur. You could use a hazelnut if you find a pecan or a walnut. Those are out there as well. So we have those 3 ingredients in there. Then we're going to add 2 ounces of yoo-hoo. So for purposes that just make it a little easier, I just go ahead and like trim a hole in the side of the yoo-hoo. That way I'm not having to squeeze a lot through this tiny little hole on the top of the box. Give it a good vigorous shake for about 10 seconds. All right. Once you have that ready, I have this really cute like milk jug. So I'm gonna put it into that because it kind of ends up looking like chocolate milk. You could just put this into a rocks glass. You could strain it over ice or you can pour it up. But honestly, it's probably better a little bit over ice. But because I have this cute little milk jug, I'm just straining it up. I could put ice in here later though. And then I highly recommend serving it. If you have a cute milk jug, serve it like I do. I have this really cute little straw to drive home the whole theme. And then I'm serving it with a dark chocolate brownie that perhaps if I was married, my spouse would have made and told me to stay out of. So that, guys, is Go Ask Your Mother. Mainly because I'm busy eating the brownies and drinking my drink. That's good. It tastes like chocolate milk met a boozy Starbucks kind of frappuccino. It's really tasty. It's really good. All right, and now for the doozy. This one will kick you in the teeth. This one is called Dad Noises. If you're unfamiliar with what that term means, there's a great Letterkenny episode about it. There's a ton of memes online, a bunch of YouTube videos. But there's just kind of this like joke all around the world actually about like dad noises. Once you hit like a certain age or once you have kids, there's just like noises that people make kind of unconsciously, whether it's like getting up from a chair or like when they sit down. There's just like kind of little noises they make, and every dad has their own version. Hopefully, if you are thinking about your dad right now, you know exactly what I'm referring to. So I figured this beverage is really easy and smooth to drink, really light in the flavor profile. It's not like super alcohol forward, but it packs a lot of booze. So I figured because it's a tall drink, because it's boozy, and because it's supposed to be after bedtime, if the dad was drinking this, he would make a lot of dad noises while drinking this because he'd probably have to get up out of his chair to go to the bathroom, come back and sit down to get some more sips. Maybe one of the kids got out of bed or his partner needs something, so he's got to get up again. Maybe he's changing the remote, watching a game, watching a show, and he's upset about it. So I just see this as a really good punctuation to all of those dad noises that would hopefully ensue while drinking this cocktail. So I kind of built it like a shandy, which is where there's a beer topper usually, but we're using White Claw. I know what I said. We're using White Claw. I'm not usually on the seltzer train, but the inspiration was Capri Sun. And I really wanted to keep the color of the Capri Sun because a lot of people don't realize because of all the flavor that they pack into a Capri Sun, most of the time, if you were to open it and pour it in a glass, they're crystal clear because no one needs to see a color because it's in a little pouch. So I thought it would be cool to try and find a way to kind of keep it that way. So it just looks like you're drinking Sprite or maybe a bubbly water with, a little tinge to it, but nothing crazy. So to build the Dad Noises cocktail, I'm going to use a shaker one more time. And I'm going to use 1.5 ounces of vodka. Gonna up that alcohol content that's usually in the White Claw. So 1.5 ounces, pour that into your shaker tin. Then we have a 3/4 ounce of grapefruit juice. And this is partially to really balance out the flavor profile, but grapefruit juice is also almost an immediate blood pressure lowerer. That's not a proper word, but it will lower your blood pressure almost immediately. It's really good to have on hand if someone suddenly has a spike in blood pressure. But if you drink too many cocktails with grapefruit juice, some people think they feel sleepy when in reality what they're feeling is low blood pressure. But I figure if you're chasing after your kids or you've had a stressful family day, maybe you need your blood pressure lowered just a little bit. So I was trying to be really thoughtful in the creation of this cocktail. So then we're going to add the ingredient de resistance, the Capri Sun. I'm going to trim this little hole just like I did with the Yoo-Hoo. And we're going to do 3 ounces because it is most definitely the primary flavor profile I'm trying to get. And it's kind of subtle. So we're going to up it up. We're going to up the amount that we're using. I'm pouring that in there. All right. And then we're going to add some ice. We're going to shake. That's what you do. So you want to do maybe 5 to 10 seconds. All right. Again, dirty dumping this cocktail as well. Trying to keep it as easy as possible. Pour that in there. And you might be able to see it's got like a light pinkish hue. Now that is because I use ruby red grapefruit juice. If you happen to have white grapefruit juice or just pink grapefruit juice, it'll be paler. Let's pop this bad boy off with some extra ice. And we're gonna go with that White Claw. Now, I don't actually have a very specific garnish for this in mind, but this is my serve recommendation. Recommend keeping the can of White Claw on the side. So much like a shandy, you can continue to add that if you want to keep evolving the flavor of your cocktail, or if you like it as is, then you can just drink the White Claw solo. I do have a tall boy here, so you could definitely just use a standard size White Claw. You don't have to go big or go home, but maybe Dad deserves the tall boy White Claw. I don't know. And then my recommendation would be to take your kids' candy and use that as a garnish, because if they've made your day so stressful that we need to lower your blood pressure and give you an extra kick of alcohol, you probably deserve their candy more than they do. So I don't have any candy lying around, maybe other than like a breath mint and maybe a few Starbursts. So I might go and wrap some, hope there's no paper left on it, and use it as a garnish. But you could go crazy. You could do Airheads, you could do Laffy Taffy, you could do a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, although it wouldn't really pair well with this cocktail. See? You make a dad noise, and then you drink it. Stop. Yep. That tastes like I will pull over this car. Tastes like money doesn't grow on trees. And it also tastes like my house, my room is my drink. But yeah, that is short and sweet. I wanted to keep it quick just in case anyone is trying to get back to their celebrations. But happy Father's Day again to everyone out there in the interwebs. And next week we'll be doing summer themed beverages. And by summer, I mean summer seasonal ingredients. So there'll be some interesting stuff with some hibiscus and some plums and some parsley and a lot of crazy other things out there. So I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody hopefully next Sunday, and enjoy the rest of your holiday. Okay.